Good morning. Good morning, everybody. This is Manisha and Barbara from OWL, Online World of Learning. And today we are here with Eric Poris, who comes to us all the way from Spain. We are interviewing him about language study in Spain. Eric runs the E.Z World Academy, teaches English and Spanish, and also hosts a summer camp, which is an immersion English experience for young learners in Spain. And Eric, would you like to tell us a little bit more about your programs and your role within your programs?
Sure. Good morning and good afternoon. Yes. So we essentially have E.Z World Academy and Easytown Summer Camp, both with the initials E.Z. It comes from the co-founders, myself, Eric, and my wife, Daida, who the two of us had met when I was studying abroad in college back in the day. And we're based out here in Alcalá de Henares, and what we do is we offer customized, tailor-made language courses, mainly for corporate clients and adults. But the summer camp, yes, is something that we do offer for local children who want to get an English immersion experience. What we say is it's like you're traveling to the United States in the mornings and you come home in the evening to be with your family. So it's really something, the focus there is on fun, like on joy, on positive reinforcement, and making new friends, and increasing your network and being exposed to people from around the world. Yeah, and our English World Academy, our language school year-round, is a program that is primarily online, but we are based in Alcalá de Henares, and so we do offer some language classes to local clients in the area. Work with multinational companies. We go in there and they often ask for English, obviously English being such an important language in the corporate world, but we do offer other languages as well, like Spanish and Portuguese, Italian, French, and German.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know about the Portuguese, the Italian, and the French. That's really good to know.
You have to meet our Portuguese teacher. He's from Brazil. He's wonderful. Actually, he came and was a part of our summer camp at one point, and now he's back in Brazil and he's teaching online for us. He's so energetic, talented, and fun. The class, it's like you almost don't even want to sit down. The class just keeps going, and very entertaining, and yeah, great people. So
sounds great. Yeah. So Manisha and I have some questions, twofold. One set of questions has to do with English in Spain, and because that is sometimes our focus here at OWL. And the other thing is we're also would like to collect more information and find out a little bit more about E.Z World Academy.
Sure.
I'm interested in Portuguese, but I'm going to save that. I'll save that for you for later. And our first question has to do with the prominence of English today in Spain. You mentioned the business world, and I would like to know what changed. First of all, how prominent is English in other fields outside of the business world? Have you seen changes recently with regard to professional opportunities and how education is conducted in regards to English?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I think that in the corporate world, if you are in a multinational company, it is often required that you have a minimum level of English, a workable level. I don't know if you're familiar with the European, the common European framework.
Oh yeah,
Manisha
definitely is familiar. I know some.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, essentially, for those who might not know, there's letters or tiers in terms of your level, and it starts at A1. So I guess it's like opposite of the U.S. where if you get an A1, you're number one or top. But this would be A1 would be like a starter, beginner, kind of you have zero knowledge of the language. A2 would be then you have a grasp of some basic vocabulary. You can start maybe stringing a couple of words together. B1, so it'd be A1, A2, B1, and you're like your lower intermediate. B2, your upper intermediate. C1 would be like a lower advanced, and C2 would be near native, or essentially native-like, where you're able to dominate the language of that ability. And so what often companies ask for when they're looking to hire people, and one of the requirements often nowadays is a B2. That's another thing that we do at our language school. It's not well, another thing we do is we help students prepare for these exams that give them a level. It certifies their level, and the most common level that people are looking to certify is B2. So that is just to give you an idea. And we're mainly, again, talking about adults here. Adults, yeah, typically need that level. But then outside of business, I wouldn't say there's necessarily a requirement unless you're working internationally. Like there are a lot of companies that work just nationally or, you know, regionally, and there's not often necessarily English is a plus, but it's not necessarily a requirement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think,
was there another part of the question that I'm missing here?
yes, it was. I probably should have broken that one apart, but I am wondering about, so part of the question had to do with educational opportunities. So obviously there are language schools like yours, and this is great to know that you actually prepare people for the European framework test. That seems like it would be very valuable. But I guess also we're wondering about the role of English in school, the various levels of school and in higher education as well. What are the expectations nowadays?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to share because one, I've worked in a few schools. I've been able to like, I learned a lot about the school system and that sort of thing. And then also the elementary schools, elementary and high school. But then also my wife, Taida, the Z in Easy World Academy, she's a professor at the university. So so she's very knowledgeable on that side. And essentially, let's see. So starting at elementary school, I can speak for Madrid mostly, but I'd say it's not blanketed across all of Spain, but for the most part, this is the case. That there's a new bilingual school system where schools are spending a lot of time, most of their day, I'd say, is like the curriculum is in English. What I mean by that is they're using the CLIL method. So they're teaching science and social studies, gym and art. All of those are in, and obviously English class, but all of those are in English. So they're teaching that subject. Are you familiar with the CLIL method?
No, what does it stand for exactly?
Is it
CLUE or
CLIL?
CLIL? Okay.
I can't actually remember what it stands for. But the method is essentially saying that if you're teaching this language, so you're teaching English as a foreign language in this case, but what you're doing is you're not necessarily teaching the language itself. You're teaching a subject through the language, and that is one strategy to take to teach more language. So you're getting actually both. You're getting the content for the subject level as well as English in that case.
There's actually, I think maybe we call it something else today, but this was a concept that I learned as a TESOL student. I think Barbara would remember English across curriculum, where you don't have English just in the classroom. So you're not teaching it just like a language, but it's a mode, like a mode of communication or mode of teaching.
Yes.
Yeah.
It stands for content and language integrated learning. So yeah, very much the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Content and language integrate. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Go ahead, Eric.
And so that's in the primary schools. To give you an idea, to teach in the primary schools, so the Spaniards who are teaching, are teachers in a primary, they call it primary school. There's primary and secondary. So they're teaching in the elementary schools, the primary schools. they are required often to have, depending on the region, a B2 or potentially a C1, depending on the school and things like that. So
I'm sorry,
that's,
Eric, can
yeah.
you, I lost the sound a little bit. You were saying the teachers are required to have a C1 or C2 level in English.
Yeah, B2 or C1. So they're not required to have a C2, but they're required to have a B2 or a C1. And this new bilingual program, what they do is, so they require that level. This is at least in Madrid. I think in some other regions, it might be a little bit lower than that. I think Madrid is one of the higher, has one of the higher requirements. But then in addition to that, what they're doing is they're bringing in what's called auxiliares de conversación, which is language assistants. So essentially, native English speakers, or let's say people who are coming from English-speaking, primarily English-speaking countries, have a bachelor's degree. I think that's a requirement. They are able to come to Spain, and we're happy to unpack this one too, but they come to Spain, they essentially go into the classrooms and practice conversation with the children. So they're getting this, these students are getting exposed to not only English with the curriculum, with the CLIL method or this integrated learning method we're talking about, but also having a native English speaker come into their classroom, like usually once or twice a week, depending on how it's broken down, and once or twice a week. And they teach about, they have conversations with the students, but they also teach about cultural aspects and things like that. So so they have this program going on, and if any person's interested in that, I highly recommend looking up like language assistants, or I think also called cultural ambassadors or something in Spain. So that's a program that you can do. It's paid, and I think you work like 12 or 16 hours, and you get like €1,000 a month. Usually get 3-day weekends, so to travel, and pretty good perks as well. So a nice maybe gap year or something if you're interested.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, there's a lot of content right there, Eric, but I'm interested more in the academic side of it.
Sure.
So, Barbara, possibly you also know, you mentioned, so you were mentioning, as I see it now, they have the academic English, which is mandatory, but they also have this conversational practice in line with Jim Cummins' theories. I don't know if you guys remember. BICS and CALP, BICS being basic interpersonal communication, which is what you have, you just talk to people without worrying about, the correctness of grammar, basically building your fluency, right? And then there's the CALP side of it, where you actually use language to do hard academic, cognitively challenging stuff. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. This has been interesting to hear you talk about how a curriculum actually integrates not just language across subjects, but just two different kinds of proficiencies to just pump up that language. That's very fascinating and interesting. Actually, you've answered most of the next few questions, but I'm still interested. Is it like a national curriculum, or does it depend, or does it vary from school to school, region to region, or state to state?
I think I would, that's a good question. I don't really know. I would say that it's the public school system has a national curriculum. That would be like national requirements that need to be fulfilled, but that I think private schools, charter schools can choose their own curriculum and their kind of their own path. And there are language assistants that there are lots of different programs. So I'd say that language assistants are not limited to just public schools. There also are programs where they go into charter schools. I know in my case, I was in a charter school as well as public schools. So yeah, I'd say there's a national curriculum for the public school systems, but the charter and private systems can really choose their own.
But we also would love to know more about Easy World Academy. Particular to me, it has sounded like a pretty unique program based on previous discussions we've had, or just, we've shared some information. I'm wondering if you can address that to tell us a little more about why, you and Zaida feel this is really pretty unique? And also maybe you can describe describe teacher backgrounds and methods and materials that they like to utilize.
Sure. Well, I think it's our people that make it unique. So I'll start with our team. We represent over 12 different countries and cultures. We're a diverse group. Like I said, we teach a lot of different languages, so that has a lot to do with it. But it's fun because like the French teachers from France, the German teachers from Germany or Austria, or both. We have the Portuguese teachers from Brazil. And then our English teachers, our Spanish teachers are from Alcalá de Henares, a lot of them. There's other ones from other places as well. But we have English teachers from lots of different English-speaking countries. We have folks from India. We have folks from Brazil, Ireland, the UK, the United States.
Canada.
We don't have anyone from Canada. We don't have anyone from Canada yet.
Okay.
I say yet. It's funny because my team will always laugh with me, or they'll send me a message or something if we get like a new applicant from a country that we don't yet have represented. One of the things we do is we have a little map, a little globe that's it's made of corkboard, and so we're able to like stick a pin in it every time. Usually you do it when you travel or something. I like to stick a pin in for everyone who's represented in our community, whether that's staff or students. And so I just love filling it up and having people come from all over. And so my team sometimes will laugh. They'll be like, "Hey, we just got an applicant from Jamaica," and I'll be like, "No," like they're going, "Hey, you know, they're from Jamaica," and they're excited for me because they know we don't have anyone yet from Jamaica, and I'm excited to meet that person and see if they'd be a great fit. So we're really kind of putting the term like a world that we have in our name, a world academy, a global academy. It's in there, and so. Yeah, it's something that we take pride in, as well as just really having a diverse community, well-rounded. And one thing that I love doing, and the one thing I studied actually in college, is working across cultures. And so I'm actually utilizing what I've learned and studied in the work that we do, because coming from different cultures have different expectations, have different ways of communicating, different ideas of time. In the States, if you arrive early, you're on time, and if you arrive on time, you're late. In Spain, it's funny, when I remember there was a meeting we had set up, and the people who were represented in the meeting were kind of all over the building, but there was half of them were Americans and half of them were Spaniards. I think the meeting was at 2:00, right? 2:00, all of the Americans right walking through the door, like maybe 3 minutes to 2:00, all the Americans coming through the door, everyone's sitting down, ready to go, like, let's go, we're here, maybe checking my calendar, like okay, let's have this meeting. About almost exactly 5 to 7 minutes after 2:00, the Spaniards come strolling in. "Hey, we're gonna, how we were just right. Oh, what a great week. Oh, that's so fun. Oh, great." And just they're still standing up, like there's no sort of hey, let's sit down and let's start this meeting. It was, yeah, we're gonna get to it. Okay. The concept of time is very different, and so it's there's also something to be aware of as a founder and a co-founder of a company that's based in Spain. It's very interesting for me to also have to be aware of the fact that many of their team members, not all of them, but many of them are living in Spain, are a part of this culture and know what it's like to work in this culture. And it's rather a little than working in the States, let's say, different time orientation. And so I have to be aware of that too, and be kind of a little bit flexible when it comes to like, hey, this meeting, okay, well, it's all right if you arrive 5 minutes late, like that's part of the culture. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is we have a very diverse team, but I think that's what really makes us special and unique. Is that's one of the aspects.
Right.
Let's see what else. One of the things we like to do is, and I don't want to give any secrets away too, but
Okay.
but one of the things we do is we don't actually necessarily have a set curriculum that we say this is your level, this is what you're going to study.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in that because I don't think that that's the reason why the person is there.
Right.
I think the reason a reason you have come to study with us is because you have a specific goal in mind. Not necessarily, maybe it is to be able to speak or be able to converse, but for what reason? There's a reason why you want to be able to converse. With whom? Where? Is it professionally? Is it you want to work with new clients that are Spanish speaking clients? And so instead of saying this is our curriculum, our academic curriculum that we're going to focus on, and this is what we're going to teach you, these grammar points, this pronunciation, this and this, we instead start with the goal in mind that the student has.
Mm-hmm.
And we say, okay, so you want to have a new, you want to be able to, let's see, have a meeting with a Spanish speaking client. If we're teaching Spanish to the student, you want to have a meeting with this Spanish speaking client about selling tires. So what we would do is we would create the curriculum around that person's goal. And so we would find everything that they need to know about tires, about running meetings in Spanish, maybe what might come up. We would actually run through those. We would actually do a simulation or several simulations until they get so comfortable with it that it's like they've accomplished their goal. And then obviously the point is that they actually have that meeting with that client and they have a successful one. They sell millions of tires, ideally.
Great.
So
I'm
that's
totally on board. I like that a lot. I know that had been mentioned before, but in tutoring or private instruction, I really try very hard to follow the same path. And I agree that it's, well, for various reasons, it's better. We're restricted sometimes when we work at community college or university. I'm sure this is true of K-12 teachers in the US too, but we don't really have the luxury of being able to do that because there's a standard curriculum that we're asked to follow, and there are text choices that go with that. So it's really nice to be able to kind of cut loose a little bit and design something so directly connected with students' needs and desires. So I'm really glad to hear that, more about that in your program.
And also confidence is so important too. Confidence in somebody's ability to speak a foreign language. I know what you're saying, Barbara, about curriculum in schools, and it saddens me sometimes. I feel like we're in such an antiquated system right now, and I think we have technology at our fingertips that we should be able to personalize this, and we should be able to focus our time and energy on making sure that whether you're a student that is so bored in class because you're so far advanced, or you're a student who might be acting up because you're not distracted, you're not being taught the way that you can excel at. And I think that every single student could succeed if we were to be able to personalize the curriculum for each and every student. But that's I want to look back on this conversation 10 years from now and see how Easy World Academy has progressed in that area.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, one comment, if somebody is coming to you because they do need to place higher according to the European framework scale, I'm assuming there that, they can work with texts or materials that are specifically meant to prep them for that test. Yeah.
They'll often, in that case, they'll say to us from the beginning, my goal is to pass this exam at this level.
That's right. Yeah.
And so in that case, certainly we would prepare them, but we don't necessarily, I guess, like market the idea that we're preparing that exam. No, they might come to us because they came recommended by a friend or something, but our main focus is on those like personalized goals and putting the student in a situation in which they want to succeed in.
So I really like that. And part two, or another part of that question, had to do with the teacher. I mean, the team sounds wonderful and very diverse linguistically and otherwise. But what is the specific, what kinds of training or what backgrounds are you looking for in your teachers?
Yeah, good question. Let's see, first of all, that they have a C2 level in that language.
That's great.
So they're native-like. That's very important. We often ask that they have at least 2 years experience in teaching, in teaching the subject matter and the language that they're teaching. We also look for people who are on board with the same idea, that they don't want to follow a curriculum and, you know, say, okay, what did you get for number 1? All right, good. You know, and what did you get for question? Okay, A. Oh, I'm sorry, A is not the. Okay. You know, for folks who really want to get their hands dirty and really get into this curriculum, and create their own curriculum based on the students' needs. So people who get excited about that and kind of seeing the student outcomes as their goal, as well, which I think we do as teachers anyway, but specifically the goal that they come to us with. Lots of our teachers have master's degrees. It's not a requirement, but a lot of them do have it. And that they're very like team oriented, that they're open to both giving and getting feedback. I like it, and I love when the teachers observe one another. I've had teachers that have been teaching for many years, and one of the questions I had asked them after a little while, I said, wait a second, like, have you ever observed another class, you know? And they hadn't. And so I was immediately like, this is a great opportunity. Let's make this happen, because you can learn so much from observing other teachers, and for giving and receiving feedback can be just so beneficial when it's obviously, when the point of this is that we grow together. And so there's that aspect. And yeah, I think also just the fact that you're interested in languages is a plus, that you speak another language or several other languages is always good, because you know what it's like to learn a foreign language, and what it's like to you see yourself from the student's perspective.
I agree. I think that's really important to at least have studied something, if only at the beginning level, but to have that perspective, and understanding of what are the challenges and why they're challenges, you know.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Eric likes to he likes to work with a team where he can keep his teachers on toes, and I believe your teachers also like it. You know, the fact that there's something new to look forward to, because it gets boring when you almost anticipate, you know, I know it's the same lesson that I have to teach again tomorrow. There's still surprises, you know, in form of student questions, but then a team that is so willing to take on the challenge of being prepared in a different way, you know, rather than being structured in a very particular way. You know, there's a difference there. And it's training in its own right. You know, you're sort of asking, you have to be very reflective when you're not married to any curriculum or any textbook, because otherwise you won't survive, because otherwise you would want to give up. And I from your conversation, I don't think that happens very often. So I guess it's a very actively involved team, which does not just teach, but also does a lot of background work in terms of, what am I going to teach tomorrow? What did they learn today? How am I going to connect? Very important questions, and very important for self-development, self-learning. But
then if I can interrupt, sorry, Manisha, and then the great part is there's also the celebration. Yes. Also, like, you've worked so hard, and I know for me as a teacher, I taught so many years, and I look back on those years and said, I know my students learned something. I know we kind of sell it, but like, what exactly did they learn? Like, can I put my finger on it? Like, what did they accomplish? How did they? And so now we're able to say, look, you achieved your goal, which was X, Y, and Z, and now we celebrate it. And so we put together some fun celebrations. They personalize those celebrations. We all do, and I like to get involved with that as director. I like to get involved with my students, and that didn't sound right. I like to get involved with the celebrations of my students, and be able to celebrate them and make it fun and original, something unexpected, that the students didn't necessarily anticipate. But it's like, this way we're also simultaneously celebrating the teacher because of all that they've accomplished, to help that student reach their goal too. So
yeah.
But that's a good reflection though too, Manisha, about them, you know, taking on these types of classes on their this concept, and the students, looking out for the students, and what did I do yesterday? How can I improve it for tomorrow? Yeah, things like that. Good point, Manisha.
and also learning from each other. You mentioned that they observe each other's classes, you know, that's,
Yes.
you've got it right there. It's not done from the intention of, you know, with the intention to sort of correct somebody. But again, reflection. Oh, this is not something I would ever do. Why not? So it's also adventure in a new way. That's amazing. I'm so sort of happy to hear that there is still this passion for doing something new. There's passion for not sticking to a common goal. It's not prescriptive. There is a lot of teacher agency involved. You know, teacher is right. I know the student is right at the center, and that's which prompts, you know, that gives so much of encouragement to student-oriented learning. But that's not possible if you don't give teachers the freedom to look at the student, to observe the students and understand the needs and, you know, chart the course.
Great point, Manisha. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, and reflecting that passion and that joy for the work that we're doing. And really, it was just really because the opposite happened. I mean, I've taught where I've been following a book and following the script, and like literally I have followed scripts where like word for word I had to read something out loud. I don't know if any of you here or on the call or have ever had to read a script when you're teaching.
Yeah.
And for me, I couldn't do it. Like I'm sorry. Like these kids in front of me that either this doesn't relate to them, or you know, or you know, I had to get kind of creative with the script itself. I had to follow it, but maybe I had to wear a funny hat, or like it just didn't work for me. So I was like, yeah, tell me about you and what you need, and let's flip the script on this.
Eric, thank you for explaining more about how you work with your various language students, maybe mostly adults, but we would love to hear more about the English language immersion camps for children.
Sure. It's definitely something that I'm also very passionate about, the summer camp, because actually, even before Easy World Academy existed, it was Easytown Summer Camp. Like that was the first thing that happened. Just going back to my own experience, I grew up going to summer camp my whole life. Every summer there was a summer camp, some either as a kid or as a CIT, counselor in training, or as a counselor and then a camp leader. I was one of the youngest camp leaders in my neighborhood to like run, to be in charge of the staff and responsible for all the kids. I think I was 18 at the time, and so it was something I was very passionate about. But then when I got into college, I also was able to, I was very fortunate to work in some organizations that teach English as a foreign language in an English immersion camp setting. One was in Switzerland, in a far east town called Fatan. For those who don't know, I mean, in Switzerland, there are actually 4 national languages: German, French, Italian,
English.
and Romansh.
Romansh.
There's only, I think there's only 40,000 speakers of this language, and they're based in 3 small easternmost towns of Switzerland. And so we were in one of those, but it's not necessarily relevant. The kids, mostly high school students, all came from all over the world. They came from Saudi Arabia and from Colombia, even from Denmark, and really from all over the world. And it was this English immersion. I don't know if you're familiar with Concordia Language Villages, CLV. There's an organization run by them, very innovative in the work that they're doing. Hold on one second.
We should have put posters everywhere, you know, recording in progress.
My apologies there. But anyway, I can go back. But what I'm trying to say is I had this English immersion experience in the summer camp that just really blew me away. There were no books. I mean, not necessarily like there were no academic books. It was all about music, dance, theater, art, simulations of different kinds, and language was even taught at meal times. Like language was being was being taught at meals. It was just something that I'd never really experienced before. And it was very innovative. I went to another similar program to teach English in Brazil. And I worked in another place in Cusco, Peru. So I've been working with different cultures. I've also worked with the Lakota tribe in South Dakota on the Pine Ridge Reservation, and some other cultures as well. And in all this time, I've gotten a chance to work with kids. I have found that the most effective way to teach kids, and I'm sure you all agree with it, but I'm able to now put this kind of into words. If the kids or students are safe and they're having fun, teaching them the foreign languages is just going to fall into place. They're going to learn that foreign language. They're going to embrace it. They're going to absorb it, and they're going to use it. If the other pillars are not there, if they're not having fun, or they're not feeling safe, whether that's physically or psychologically, it can be pretty intimidating to not know a foreign language and have that all around you, and you don't know what people are saying, or what they're trying to convey to you. It can be pretty intimidating. But if you can make that environment safe, and you can ensure that the students are having fun, language learning can excel. So what we've done with Easytown Summer Camp is I've taken kind of a Richard Branson approach, where it's like you take care of the staff, you take care of your business. And what we've been doing is really we've been focusing on the staff and kind of their own experience, and making sure that this is a special program for them. And as a result, teaching them, giving them our methodology and ensuring that it's a safe and fun environment, folks are thriving. So they're doing activities, whether that's theater, dance, sports of different kinds, simulations, you name it, art. They're teaching what they're very passionate about, first of all, where their strengths are. But they're coming here. They're coming here from, a lot of them come from the States, actually, and they travel to Spain, and they get this, the camp is 2 weeks long, only 2 weeks long. They get this 15, 16, 18-day experience in Spain, where they're not only coming away as, I think they learned something, what they've been telling us is that they come away as better educators. They've been exposed to another culture, another style. They've learned Spanish. This is also a part of our program. We teach them Spanish before they come. They work with our tutors to learn Spanish before they come. They get Spanish immersion when they're here. They stay with a local family. So essentially what they're doing is they're teaching English throughout the day or throughout the morning, and then they might get a class or two during the day, but then in the evenings they're going home and they're learning how to cook tortilla española, like a Spanish omelet, a Spanish potato omelet, with their host mother or something. And they're getting this full on, well, I guess half on Spanish immersion. And so the whole concept of this experience is really engaging for them. Also, in this last summer camp that we've had, the staff, one thing I love about this, one of my goals was that the staff build such a strong bond with one another that after camp is over, they meet up in a local city somewhere, or they meet up somewhere else. And I'm really, really grateful that and proud that they've been doing that. They've meeting up in, I guess, Denver and Houston and different other cities. So kind of creating a little bit of an alumni program. Back to sorry, I'm kind of blabbling on here. I guess I'm trying to give my sales pitch to anybody who wants to come and work in our summer camp. That's probably where I was going with that. So sorry about that. Within the program itself is that with the kids, where we have those activities, but we also have a CIT program, a counselor and training program. So this is for like 13 to 17-year-olds, folks who are kind of too old, or like, I guess, older to experience the games and the activities that we teach them, but they're not yet old enough to have the responsibility to be a staff member. So what we do is we like to train them the way we pair them up with a staff person, and they have a mentor as they go throughout the day. And their goal is to kind of learn how to run activities, learn how to essentially do the work that the staff is doing. with the goal actually being to hire them once they finish the summer camp. That's the goal that we have for them. And some of the CITs, obviously it's not for everybody, but some of the CITs have actually come away more motivated to enhance their English throughout the school year. So like the impact is, there's like this intrinsic motivation to say, look, I know that I have this awesome opportunity to come back and have an even bigger responsibility at Easytown next summer. So I'm ensure that I really improve my English throughout the year. And we're actually very proud to announce that one of our CITs is not only going to be hired at camp, two of them are going to be hired at camp next summer, but this upcoming school year, one of them is going to be working with us throughout the school year. So they're going to have their first job with us throughout the school year, working kind of like not an administrative role, but helping us at the academy throughout the evenings. And I guess that's the biggest point, was that there's like this intrinsic motivation that we're trying to develop with these kids at camp, and to ensure that they know that that English is not necessarily a subject. It's more of a tool in their lives. And if they're exposed to, we've had CITs that have come from abroad. And we've also had campers that come from abroad. So like native English speaking campers that they're paired, like they have in their bunk, they have in their group. And so they're seeing this, they're seeing how real this is. And they see like, hey, if I can enhance my English and I can embrace it, I can have fun with it. It's just natural that I want to be able to build these relationships with this other camper or this other CIT or this other staff person that's coming from the States or from the UK or from India or from anywhere around the world. We're looking at it long term. In those 2 weeks, we're not just saying, okay, you're finished camp and you're gone. We're looking at what's the long-term impact, what's their motivation, and I think that's going to have a biggest impact on them. And as a result of the kids, we took a poll for parents because we wanted to follow up, and that's the last thing I'll say. But we followed up with a poll, like a survey for parents, and I said, and we asked them. We asked them a couple of things. One, yes or no, did your child have fun at camp? We wanted to know if they had fun. And it might sound silly, but in Spain, when it comes to teaching English, it's not fun. Most of the time, English teaching is like the kids are, actually, if a kid hears that they're going to go to an English summer camp before they even meet us, they're like, no way. Like, get out of here. I don't want to go to camp, an English camp. No way. Can I go to the soccer camp instead, or football? Can I go to that camp, right? And so that's their attitude towards it, and understandably so. And so when we say one yes or no, did your kid have fun? 100% of parents have said yes, 100%. So that's a huge success. And then if we know that, you know that they're going to be safe if they've made a new friend. So that's another question that we asked. 100% of parents said that their child made a new friend at a camp, which we're so proud of, I think, and I think it's in a really effective way. So we're going fun and safety, right? And we talked about how important that is. Now, there are kids that come to camp of all different levels. Some kids speak English at home or have been able to, when I say speak English at home, maybe their parents ask them something and they respond in English, or maybe they can sing a song in English, but there are lots of kids that can't. And so one of the questions that we do ask as well, Manisha and Barbara, is like, we asked them last time, if your child, as a result of camp, has your child spoken or sung English at home? And the answers were, my child already spoke English at home, or so we kind of crossed it off the list. Like, it wasn't, or yes or no. And it was over 80% of kids spoke or sung at home as a result of camp, and they had not spoken or sung at home before. And so the results, I don't know. I think the impact that we're having is transformational, both for the short term and for the long term. and it's also a global event. That's one of the reasons why we're not having camp this year, obviously, because it's a global event. People come from abroad. We bring cultures together from all over. And so we weren't able to have summer camp again this year, but we are recruiting for 2022. So if I could put a shameless plug in, we are recruiting for our staff, for folks who are interested in learning Spanish and in enhancing their teacher skill set. Love to have you.
I can just see how many birds you're killing with one arrow. You're creating a pathway to internship, as you mentioned. You're creating a whole lot of emotional engagement without telling. You're sort of sneaky about it. You're not telling them that you're learning English, but they are all the time.
Yes.
All the time. And that's a very clever way of bringing them emotionally, culturally close to each other. I just have to sit down and sort of break it into different effects that you're making with just that one program out there. And you sound so passionate and proud. I'm sure it was many years in making, and it took a lot of time to come where you are today, but it just sounds fascinating to me, at least. Barbara.
No, I was nodding in agreement with you. I mean, it sounds like a wonderful experience on many fronts and at many levels. So,
thank you.
I mean, this is hopefully the future of language teaching, really, and learning, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And so the idea also would be to take that concept and expand on it too, not limit it to English immersion camps or English immersion programs.
Other language camps, you know, which would benefit, you know, U.S. kids, because we tend to get a later start here in the States.
Right.
And it's not always necessarily taught with an eye to student motivation and interest or engagement. It would be great to see some foreign language camps spring up here that sort of follow the same philosophy anyway. Yeah.
We are looking into that.
Yeah, so. That's great. It sounds like, because you already have a start with your your staff that represents several other countries and speaks other languages. But thank you so much for sharing your time and information as well.
Absolutely, thank you. I'm sorry I did ramble on a lot about that, but I am very passionate about it, and hopefully it's interesting for the listeners here. And thank you for having me here. It really is.
Yeah,
it's really a pleasure, and I think great things are going to come from this. I've already come from this conversation, but I think we're also potentially planting seeds for the future and what we can build together.
Absolutely, Eric. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's getting late for you, so you have a great night and take care.